And turning now to some health news. The University of Arizona actually conducting a study to try to figure out if sleep has anything to do with migraines, saying if having less sleep could lead to having a migraine. We know a lot of women especially have migraines pretty often. So I actually sat down with the doctor. He's one of the lead researchers of this study and talked a little bit about those migraine symptoms and what people can do to kind of give themselves a little bit of relief. Let's take a listen.
Just to get started here, tell me a little bit about your study. What are your findings correlating a lack of sleep to migraines?
Yeah. So maybe just a couple of comments about migraine first, so to put it into some perspective. So migraine is a very, very common neurological disorder. It really is much, much more than a headache. Most people think about migraine as a headache, but it's really much more than that. It's actually a neurological disorder. And it affects maybe 47 million people in the United States. Most of those people are women. So it's about 3-to-1 female to male. So more than 30 million people in the United States suffer from migraine. More than 30 million women in the United States suffer from migraine. And there's been a suggestion that there's a link between migraine and sleep. And partly because many migraines happen when patients wake up. So about 48% of migraines happen as the person is waking up. And what we've never really understood is what is the actual relationship between migraine and sleep. So if you have a migraine, does that mean that you want to sleep more? Or does the migraine actually disrupt your sleep? Or alternatively, if you have disrupted sleep, does that somehow increase the likelihood of having a migraine attack? And so that's really what we were trying to understand, what we were trying to investigate. And so what we did is we asked the question both ways. So if you have a migraine, does it disrupt sleep? And the answer is no. We didn't really see any evidence of that. But when we had disrupted sleep, then the likelihood of having a migraine is much higher. And of course, disrupted sleep happens, for all kinds of reasons in life, and so this might be one of those parts of life that maybe we could help control a little bit to decrease the chances of having a migraine attack.
And of course, when you're talking about 30 million women in the United States suffering from this, when you think about women, a lot of them are moms dealing with children and a lot of disruptions that could cause them not to have great sleep. Is there anything that you guys have found that can help with sleeping or help kind of with those individuals who are struggling with that?
Yeah, well, so I mean, these are all lifestyle kinds of things that have to be considered. I mean, you're absolutely right about the fact that many of these women that suffer from migraine are young women. They're women of childbearing age. They have children. As I mentioned, many of the migraines happen in the morning, and that's the busiest time, obviously, because the people have to get ready for work, the children have to go to school. All of those things are happening all at once, and so that's a very difficult time. And so what can you do about that? Well, I mean, it's again a concept of behavioral modifications. So no devices in the bedroom, right? And so TVs, phones, especially phones, this is the kind of thing that keeps people awake. Novelty makes people want to, kind of stay awake and not fall asleep. So maybe those are things to consider and to help to, have a good night's sleep.
Did you find anything about the number of hours people need to sleep, or is it just you need good, uninterrupted sleep in order to hopefully not have a migraine?
Yeah. No, we didn't study anything like that. So we didn't study the amount of sleep. But I will say that the amount of sleep seems to be less important than the quality of sleep. So what we think a lot about is sleep fragmentation. So the number of times you fall asleep and wake up and fall asleep and the duration of those cycles, that seems to actually be more important than the absolute number of hours of sleep. So the quality of the sleep time may be actually more important in the consequences to the health of the person.
Is there any reason, anything that made you all kind of interested in studying this? Were you just finding that a lot of people in the morning when they woke up, they were experiencing those migraines, and you're like, what is this in correlation
Mhm.
to? Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. So I mean, so the thing that characterizes migraine is that there's intense throbbing pain, usually on one side of the head, and there's hypersensitivity to sound and hypersensitivity to light, and other symptoms as well. And so what people want to do during a migraine attack is to sort of hide into a dark room, to get away from sensory stimuli, sound and light. And very often they fall asleep. And so the question that started to come up is this sleep actually helping to resolve the migraine? Or is it because you're in a dark room without anything to do that you just fall asleep? And I think that that's what we learned, is that really it's probable that the deprivation of other sensory stimuli is what promotes individuals to just fall asleep. But the migraine itself is not actually promoting the sleep. So that was one of the questions that we had. And then alternatively, what we've known for a long time is that there's a bidirectional relationship between sleep and pain. And so people that have disrupted sleep, if you test their pain thresholds, they are more sensitive. And so, sleep definitely affects pain. And of course, pain is one of the big symptoms that is associated with migraine headache. We have different ways of dealing with migraine, uh, but prevention is something that is the most effective. And again, lifestyle changes that can help. With sleep as the intervention, the sleep as a way that we can help to potentially decrease the frequency of migraine attacks in people that suffer from migraine. So that would be the goal, is to somehow modify lifestyle so that